What's going on, everyone? Climate Data Report here with today's weather forecast for Saturday, March 18th, 2023. Starting off with the infrared satellite picture, you can see we have an upper level disturbance that is over the Great Lakes. We also have that cold front that came through the east yesterday. It did stall from about Texas through to just south and east of the Carolinas. Some showers are expected today in Florida, and there actually is some rain in Texas at this time. As for the upper level system, it is going to provide some snow showers and lake effect snow squalls for the Great Lake region. Taking a look at radar, you can see there is an area of rain across southern Texas, which is some good news. It's not going to amount to a lot of rain, but you will take any rain that you can get because you are in drought conditions. Looking further east, you can see that front is finally clearing the coast in the Carolinas, but it's starting to get hung up now in Florida, which was expected, and it should make a very slow progression south, with eventually clearing Florida. Maybe not until Monday at this point. Taking a look at the National Weather Service hazards map, you can see there are widespread freeze warnings and freeze watches, even for right along the beaches of the Gulf Coast, like Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, even the Florida Panhandle. This is a very cold snap for this time of year, especially considering that we're coming into the second half of March now. Taking a look at the Great Lakes region, you can see there are winter weather advisories, and a lake effect snow warning is now in effect for the area of Watertown, New York. Let's take a look at their warning, shall we? What? Heavy lake effect snow expected. Total snow accumulations of 5 to 10 inches in the most persistent lake snows. Winds gusting as high as 40 miles per hour will produce areas of blowing and drifting snow. Out on the west coast today, yes, more winter storm watches for the mountains of California. But I can tell you, this is not going to be as big of a storm compared to the ones that you have seen, nor will the one afterwards. But still, it's enough that there's watches, and those watches probably will become warnings in the California mountains. Now we come to this on the Storm Prediction Center. There's two things we have to look at. Remember the severe weather threat on Thursday? Well, there were actually 3 tornadoes that were now confirmed on this map here. One was in Dallas County, another one was in Irving, which is also in Dallas County, and Navarro County. And the one in Navarro County actually had 2 people injured, so that's pretty serious. Then we come to yesterday, and yesterday in Walton County, Florida, there was a tornado, or possible waterspout, I should say, and there was a well-defined TDS, no structural damage, reported in a rural area in Bay County, north-northeast, 5 miles north-northeast of West Bay. So that could have been a tornado as well. Let's take a look at the HRRR model for today, shall we? The HRRR model shows the area of rain will continue across southern Texas. You might actually even see some snow in western Texas today, which that's pretty rare for this time of year. You can also see showers and thunderstorms continue in Florida as the cold front slowly tries to get south and east. Up in the Great Lakes region, there's that snowfall that we were talking about. And as we get into tonight, you can see an actual heavier area of showers develops across Jacksonville, Florida. And that should eventually progress east. Tomorrow, the threat really will be from about Orlando on southward, if there is to be much activity. I think it's going to be more isolated tomorrow, with exceptions to tomorrow night, as another wave is going to form along the front that will eventually take it southeast. And here's that wave here, which this is after sunset tomorrow night. So if you have outdoor plans in Florida, you're good for most of the day. And then nighttime, this band comes and the front finally slides off the coast by Monday morning. Out on the west coast, let's back up the HRR. As you can see, here's the next system that comes on shore in California. There's the mountain snow. There's the rainfall for the lower elevations. But this is not really a big system. And let's take a look at precipitation amounts for this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here's the western U.S. view. And as you can see, rainfall amounts are generally on the order of 1 to 2 inches. In the mountainous regions, you do get a couple 2+ inch areas as you get the uplifting from the mountains, but for the most part, this is nowhere near as big of a deal that you have had recently, but still, it's insult to injury. Taking a look beyond this period, let's take a look at the temperatures for tomorrow morning. And you'll see tomorrow morning's temperatures are going to be very cold for this time of year in the south. Here's tonight. This is by 2 a.m. Already you have that freezing line in central portions of Alabama, Georgia, even Mississippi. And look how close it gets to the coast. As you can see here, 12Z tomorrow morning. It almost gets to the coast. I'm not certain that they're going to actually issue the freeze warnings for the coastal counties of the Gulf Coast, but nonetheless, you're at least going to get into the upper 30s. And as you can see here, even Atlanta, you're pushing the freezing mark. Look at the rest of the country. So here's I-10 down here. Anywhere north of I-10, you're below freezing tomorrow morning, which is just insanity for this time of the year. Look at the Northeast. Even Philly, you're talking maybe 25 degrees tomorrow morning. That's not factoring in. It's going to be windy tomorrow as well. So wind chills tomorrow morning in many places are going to be in the teens, if not single digits up in the North Plains. In fact, if we go back to the National Weather Service hazard map, yes, there's wind chill advisories in North Dakota and portions of Montana. Moving beyond this to the next day afterwards, as you can see, Monday morning's still chilly as well. And Monday morning's actually colder down along the Gulf Coast. That's where your freeze warning may come into play for the Gulf Coast, as temperatures are going to be in the mid-30s to, if not near freezing, as you can see here on the NAM model. And it's one more cold morning for everyone else. But after this, Tuesday morning, it's not as harsh. It's just a little bit warmer down south. You don't hit freezing in the places like Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. Western North Carolina on northward, yes. There you probably will hit freezing one more time on Tuesday morning. And then as we get in towards Wednesday and Tuesday afternoon, it does start to warm up. Taking a look here at the latest GFS as we go through the week, and you can see here that first system does clear California relatively quickly. Another system that's slightly bigger does enter the picture as we get into Tuesday night into Wednesday. That one will have a little bit more precipitation. There could be localized amounts of 2 to 3 inches, and in the mountains you could see anywhere from 1 to 2 feet of snow with this system. And it also is a little bit slower moving. This system then becomes an area of energy that will come into the plains, and this is something we're going to have to watch. A boundary is going to set up from west to east. How far north or south that boundary sets up will depend on, or will be the deciding factor on how warm things are going to get in the east. Right now, anyone south of Washington, D.C., I'm guaranteeing you that it is going to be a nice, well-deserved warm with temperatures into the 70s. North of there, up through about New York City, is the battleground. That's the question mark. This boundary, or warm front, you could call it a warm front, it is a warm front, is going to stall somewhere along there, and you're going to have little pieces of energy that ride along it with showers, maybe even at times a period of heavier rain. But look back here across the Ohio Valley on Friday morning. The GFS has been showing this for a couple runs now. You have a really widespread area of convection. It's elevated convection, not severe thunderstorms, but the risk of heavy rainfall and flash flooding, should this be correct, would definitely happen. This is a relatively moist boundary that will have a lot of moisture to work with, and you could see some really high rainfall amounts and perhaps a flash flooding threat with trailing rainfall. As you get into Friday night, the warm front tries to get a little bit more north, but look what happens here. It gets hung up over Pennsylvania, which is normal for this time of year. To the south and west of that, you have a cold front that will stretch from Louisiana up to about just south of Chicago. And you could have a severe weather threat along that front with isolated tornadoes, wind, maybe even some hail. This front will come east, but it will lose its punch in terms of severe weather, and it will end up only being just a few showers in the east. Directly behind us next weekend, there's already indications of another system. So this is going to be a relatively active pattern going forward. Let's reverse this now, take a look at temperatures. And as you can see on the temperature map here, we'll go through, here's the middle of next week, and you can clearly see here where that boundary is. Anywhere north of this yellow line that you see from the plains into the Ohio Valley, that's where the front gets hung up, the warm front. And it tries to warm up north of the Mason-Dixon line, but with that front being hung up there, you can see. I mean, here's temperatures on 18Z Friday, which would be about Friday afternoon. You have upper 30s, low 40s in Pennsylvania, New Jersey. And just south of there, where you don't have the marine layer or clouds, look at this, 70s, and then you have 80s down in the Carolinas. So this is something we'll just have to keep watching as we go through the week. Let's take a look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. And you can see here, despite that 6 to 10 day outlook does show above average temperatures in the east, but I do think they're a little bit overdone north of the Mason-Dixon line. Should that front get more hung up, we would be looking at a slightly cooler picture than this shows. I will say this though, behind that system, there's another chance for a warm-up. Taking a look in between Mississippi River area, you do get near normal temperatures. The west coast, there's your purple Barney color. Well below average temperatures. 8 to 14 day outlook. Below average continues in the west. Near normal from Texas through Pennsylvania on up into western New York, but right along the immediate coast in the northeast, and then a little bit further west down south, you get above average temperatures. 6 to 10 day outlook does show above average precipitation in the east and in the west, with slightly below average in Texas. Should that boundary get hung up, I think this would be a little bit underdone for places like Kentucky, Illinois, and Louisiana. If that boundary gets hung up there, you're looking at a potential flash flooding event, which would be well above average precipitation. 8 to 14 day outlook shows above average precipitation in the east, a little bit slightly above average in northern California and places like Oregon, but below average in Texas, and that's not good. That is not good at all for the drought situation. So hopefully you get as much rain as you possibly can out of that weak system today. But again, if you get even more than half an inch of rain, I would be shocked. So the drought conditions are going to continue in Texas. Alrighty, that does it for today's weather forecast. If you like this video, hit the like button down below. If you want to see more forecasts, next one will be out tomorrow. Hit the subscribe button down below and you'll be notified next time I do another video. Have a great day, everyone.